Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our event this afternoon. It is an honor of mine to be here with all of you today as we raise awareness and ultimately raise a flag about one of the most pressing issues facing our community, child abuse. April is recognized as Child Abuse Awareness Month, a time when we must come together to shine a light on this often hidden problem that affects so many children and families in Riverside County. Importantly, is also a time for us to highlight the partnership between public, private, and nonprofit groups together to prevent child abuse and neglect. At least it's not rain, just wind. Today, throughout our program, we'll hear from a number of individuals representing the various teams. And for the first time ever in Riverside County, we are raising the Children's Memorial Flag in memory of the young lives lost in California as a result of child abuse. And at an event that recognizes violence against children, it seems appropriate that we recognize the terrible murder of 3 children and their teachers yesterday in Nashville, Tennessee. Present with us today are Supervisor Karen Spiegel and Supervisor Ixtian Gutierrez, both of whom will speak later in the program. We also see several other dignitaries in the crowd here with us today. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for showing your support. And more importantly, thank you all for doing the work you do in support of children. In 1985, child abuse prevention councils were established in California and authorized to allocate funds to county-level programs. Here in Riverside County, we call our Child Abuse Prevention Council the Hope Collaborative. Through the Hope Collaborative, a variety of local leaders work collaboratively to advocate for legislative changes, educate the public, and to prevent child abuse and neglect, and ultimately to strengthen our partnership to better protect our children. Our first speaker today, I would like to introduce Dr. Carla Linder-Baum, not only the Hope Collaborative Board Chair and member of that board since it was created in 2013, but also my friend. Dr. Baum.
Thank you, Mr. Van Wagenen, for that introduction. But more importantly, we want to all thank you for taking on the inordinate workload that you've taken on to run the county agencies and to oversee all of these service agencies that work to protect our children every day in this county. There are community-based agencies and private individuals who care enough to donate their own monies to assist financially some of our county's programs. Today, I would like to recognize some platinum sponsors, Mr. Dave and Mrs. Alicia Demers, the Inland Empire Health Plan, and the Zenith Insurance Company. In today's program brochure, you'll find a list of gold sponsors who too deserve our recognition and our deep appreciation. Thank you to every sponsor that supported today's ceremony and to those who donate to child abuse programs all throughout the year. We especially want to thank Supervisor Spiegel and her team for their hard work and partnership in coordinating today's wonderful event and meaningful event, and for the additional events that they support throughout the year. HOPE stands for Healing, Outreach, Prevention, and Education. And we really do try to make sure that we focus and put efforts into each one of these important areas for caring for families and children. I was a young dentist volunteering at a free clinic in the inner city quite a few years ago when I one day gave a man and his boys some money for food. My money was used for a horrific drug and alcohol binge. And at 1 o'clock the next morning, the police called me to tell me about the resulting abuse of the two boys. The two boys asked the police to call me and to ask me if they could come to my house instead of going directly into an interim shelter of foster care that they had gone to many times before. The police promised me that they would make sure that a social worker would assist me in the next few days. As I came to know the story of the abuses of the two boys, I instinctively sort of knew that I probably was not going to be giving them back anytime soon. So after I picked them up from the police in those early morning hours, they became mine, and I never gave them back. I went through the trainings to become their licensed foster parent, and they became my sons. I know that I gave them some really good years for the remainder of their childhoods and teenage years, but I also realized that there's nothing that I did do or ever could do that would heal the very deep wounds that they had already suffered before we found each other. I realized, too, that there wasn't anything that I wouldn't give then or any time into the future if I could have somehow prevented those abuses from ever having happened to them in the first place. Which brings me back to what I want to say today about how crucial it is that we all work together to prevent child abuse in every way and in any way that we can. It saddens me to observe that often the first thing that happens when people hear about cases of child abuse is for them to rush to blame a government agency or a social service agency. When my boys came to live with me, the last thing I thought of was to blame any government or social service agency or any social worker. I was so grateful for any level of intervention, and I was so grateful for the victim witness advocates, the judges, the attorneys who stayed by my side and by the side of my boys as we had to navigate a lot of difficult hurdles. As we gather today to honor the precious and irreplaceable children that suffered the ultimate abuses and who lost their lives, I know that I don't even need to ask that we here today will continue to commit to working alongside our county social workers, our deputies, our DAs, our victim advocates, our policymakers, our educational and nonprofit leaders, so that we will have no more lost lives. We can train ourselves to detect and report child abuse. We can be the neighbors who recognize a struggling family next door, and we can give small tokens of assistance that might help to reduce the stress level of that family. We can maybe decide to serve as big brothers or big sisters in our communities. We might decide to volunteer with a local nonprofit that does impactful things to help struggling families and children. We might even just simply be that voice of reason when our community falls short and when we have opportunity to direct the conversations to focus on solutions instead of blame. Thank you to everyone here today for sharing in the hope that someday we will have no need for a ceremony such as we are having today, and that we will become a model to the other counties in our nation for how to keep our precious children safe from all harm. Thank you.
Carla, thank you for those comments. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for opening your home and your heart to this cause. In the war against child abuse, law enforcement necessarily plays a vitally important role. Speaking about the work done to protect our children once a call for help is made, and speaking on behalf of our Sheriff's Department and all of our partner law enforcement agencies is Under Sheriff Don Sharp.
Good afternoon. I'm Under Sheriff Don Sharp with the Riverside County Sheriff's Office. I'm honored to be with you this afternoon to acknowledge this very important month of awareness and prevention of child abuse. As the executive officer said, in law enforcement, we find ourselves in tough situations all the time, but we recognize that there are a certain level of victims out there that we want to help even more so, and that's the children in our communities. When you go to enough homes regarding child abuse, murders, any level of just horrific event that a child may go through, they're very devastating for that family, that obviously that victim, but it has lasting impacts as well for law enforcement officers, which typically will only cause that law enforcement officer to want to pursue further prevention, further insight into their community so they can just make more people aware of the signs to look out for so that they can call upon law enforcement to intervene as soon as possible. We have a great collaboration in this county with all of our county partners, our fellow law enforcement agencies in this county, and we take this very seriously. When we get in these situations, we want nothing more than to have this victim, this child, like one of our children, get through the situation and move on. These are long-lasting events that a child will go through, and our partners in all the other counseling areas that we call upon, they've always been there for us, and we appreciate that, because all we hope for is to do our part as law enforcement officers, but pass that victim on to all the other services that person, that child needs, and we're grateful for that. So I'm honored to be here with you this afternoon. This is a great opportunity for our county to recognize a very important topic that child abuse is, and we need to do everything we can to prevent it, and Sheriff Bianco is dedicated to that. More recently, in doing so, because we do these investigations, he stood up a special victims unit, which very much is working hand in hand with the district attorney's office. So when we get involved in these cases, we can handle them properly. We do all the right things for justice for that child, and then we seek the services for that child and hopefully come to the proper resolution. So again, I'm honored to be with you this afternoon. I appreciate all that everybody does for this topic, and it's one that we need to keep loud and out there for everybody to hear so we can start more prevention. So thank you all.
Don, thank you for that. And we all know too well the danger that your deputies and police officers across this county face when going on any call, most notably domestic violence calls and domestic abuse calls. Please know that you, your team, are in our thoughts, and thank you for the work that you do. We will now hear from Charity Douglas, our Director of the Department of Public Social Services. Before becoming the servant leader of more than 4,500 dedicated employees, Charity ran our Children's Services Department. With her guidance, the team continues to transform and improve outcomes for vulnerable children. Charity?
Good afternoon, everyone. I am extremely blessed and fortunate to be among you because what it says to me is that every person here treasures children and appreciates the future that they hold. We cannot do this work. Jeff's pretty quick. Thank you. We cannot do this work without the partnership of those who are around us. And I'll just share a little bit about what we do in DPSS. Our primary mission is to ensure the safety, the well-being, and health of all children. We have around 3,000 kids in care who need our support, and I really do appreciate what Hope is doing to facilitate healing. Because healing needs to happen as soon as possible, because what abuse does is it creates misgrowth. It causes stagnant to happen for children when they become adults. So time is of the essence, and I think you all being here really shares and supports the vision of what's important in terms of moving forward today together, and we cannot do this alone. For DPSS, what happens is we're that first call that people call when there is a concern for children. By that time, the concern is already present. We're working to do whatever we can. We've received around 60,000 calls to the hotline last year, and we've completed around 22,000 investigations. That work is important, but I think prevention is where we need to stay. That's where our heart needs to be. So I just want to thank you for everything that you're doing. Dr. Carla, thank you for your unrelentless. You are just relentless in what you do for children and families. So thank you so much for what you're doing to facilitate hope, because our children need hope and they need us. So thank you very much for being here today.
I think it's only fair that that thing fell on me. I'm pretty sure the RivCo TV team only put it up to get the glare off my bald head. Sorry, folks. Next, to speak about what happens when abuse cases enter the criminal justice system, I am glad to introduce someone who, over a career of more than 25 years, has prosecuted some of the most serious cases in Riverside County, including one of, if not the most heinous cases of child abuse we've ever seen. Please join me in welcoming Chief Assistant District Attorney John McKee.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to introduce some special people here in attendance. Our victim services advocates, please raise your hands. Kate, I know you're back there as well. They work with children, especially children who come from homes where they've suffered abuse. We also have Augie back there. He's talking as well. Augie's our support dog that we have to help children get through some of the trauma that it's associated with testifying in court. I do want to diverge from what Jeff talked about to concentrate on what our previous speakers talked about, is the recognition of child abuse. You may or may not know this, but 1 in 8 children in America have at least one parent who is addicted to substance abuse. And substance abuse is a risk factor for child abuse. It is a recognized risk factor for child abuse. 1 in 8 children in America face this problem. We here in Riverside County, especially with the CEO's support, the support of the Board of Supervisors, have engaged in a very, I would say, very energetic effort to get out the word about fentanyl and fentanyl abuse across the county. We know that fentanyl abuse leads to either children ending up in the hospital and or death. And that is a problem here that we face here in Riverside County, as well as the entire California and the United States. What I want to talk to you about is what we prosecute as a precursor to child abuse is being very hard on drug abuse, drug possession, drug sales in this county, and murder occurring because of drug sales and drug abuse. Drugs are a precursor to child abuse. I want that to get across to you, a very important message to get across to you. The use of drugs, people who use drugs, parents who are abusing drugs run the risk of having child abuse or people being abused in their homes because of their habits. So if you take nothing else away from what the Riverside County District Attorney's Office does, and you may ask yourself at times, why are they being so hard on drug abusers? Why are they trying to get the highest terms or sentences of incarceration for people who sell drugs? It's because of that fact, because it is a precursor to child abuse, and we make no bones about it. We will continue to act diligently and harshly on people who abuse drugs, because we don't want to see another child end up in the hospital or in the morgue. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Jeff, for the time, and appreciate all of you being here.
Thank you, John, and thank you for recognizing our victim advocates, the Safe Family Justice Center. For more than 17 years, our family advocates, our victim service advocates have been providing comprehensive services to victims and helping them navigate the criminal justice system. Now we're going to hear from the first of our 2 supervisors this afternoon. Our newest member of the Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Gutierrez, might be new to our board, but he is certainly not new to advocating for youth and against child abuse. Supervisor Gutierrez.
Coming from a special education background as a teacher, I was a teacher actually for 14 years. I got to see a high percentage of foster youth in many special education classes. And it really broke my heart as a teacher. And that's why when I actually got to see that we really need good foster care families that are caring and that are willing to support and help our youth, which is why I want to recognize some of those heroes, the foster care parents that actually every single day go above and beyond to helping our young kids. If the foster care parents are here, if you could please raise your hand. Any foster care parents, or if you know of any foster care parents, please raise your hand. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. If you've not had an opportunity yet to serve as a foster care parent, I'd like to ask and implore that each and every one of you, if you have that opportunity, to go ahead and do so. Or maybe you know of someone that could actually become a foster care parent. And I think it's very important that us as a community, we need to do our part. We need to be the eyes and ears, of potential foster care parents that are out there that are really good and quality folks, to really recommend them and to encourage them to apply and become a foster care parent, and then possibly adopt a new young adult as well. There are numerous children who need to be matched with safe, supportive, and loving, healthy homes. I know that as a special education teacher. I saw that each and every day from when I taught high school, middle school, and even elementary. We have a particular need, especially in special education. Students with that are part of sibling groups. That's another huge need as well. And those who just quite unfortunately haven't worked through their trauma as well. So I think it's very important that we try to do the best that we can to either become a foster care parent or encourage someone to become a foster care parent. At this time, I am grateful that you joined us today. I'm also thankful for our county agencies and all of the departments here today to recognize this as an important month and to prevent future child abuse and neglect. On behalf of the 5th District, I just want to say thank you, and let's continue to lead that charge. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Gutierrez, and thank you for highlighting the county's need for safe and loving homes. To bring us home and to end this event with an exclamation point, no pressure, 2nd District Supervisor Karen Spiegel. Thank you.
Well, being last means that half your notes have already been said, so I'm going to probably change in the midstream. Bottom line is, it takes a village to raise a child. That's nothing new. We've all heard that. But it's an entire community of people that we have to work together to provide for our kids, and hopefully in a positive manner. Wouldn't it be nice that if all children grew up happy, healthy, with supportive families? Wouldn't that be great? But that's not what happens, and that's not reality. And our experiences in childhood last, whether it's negative or positive, and that carries on throughout our lives. They have long-term impacts on our health and our opportunity and well-being, both positive and negative. So kids who had a positive influence tend to have more positive results and success. And those who didn't, and we know those we're talking about. And that's where I'll verge off, because I spent a decade working with those kids who didn't have it. I worked with teenagers, at-risk youth, who came from homes where they had very negative influence, whether it was the drugs or whether it was physical abuse, whether it was neglect, emotional abuse. Child abuse is all of those. It's not one. So you think of a child abuse, how many of you, your head goes to a small kid being spanked or hit or whatever? There's more to it. And sometimes the non-physical have longer lasting effects. And so we have to be able to say, go with our guts. You always hear that. And women are better at it, sorry guys. But go with your guts. If you're seeing something that doesn't look right, it's probably not right. And the one thing is You hear it all the time at train stations and airports. See something, say something. Same thing with our youth. If something doesn't look right or feel right, please let people know it's okay, because the investigation will go on, and if nothing shows, then okay, you may have been wrong. But what happens if you don't say something and something does happen to that child? They're victims. They may end up long term, they may end up dead, but you know what? We have to make an effort to stop it. That's what today's all about, is to being advocates for our youth. So I hope each and every one of you steps up and becomes an advocate. See something, say something, because I gotta have my last line. Together we can prevent child abuse, because childhood lasts a lifetime. Can't leave an empty podium.
What's that?
Can't leave an empty podium.
I appreciate that. Don't go too far because
Oh,
you're
no,
coming
wait
right
a
back.
minute.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got so into not going off my speech. Okay, now I'm going to, we're here to recognize two organizations, and I'm gonna ask Supervisor Gutierrez to come up and join me, as well as representatives from Hope Collaborative and Family Service Association. It is the partnership with these two organizations here within our county that helps in our success rate. And success is by touching positively the lives of our youth. So I have family. To save time, we're not going to read it all. If you want to read it, she'll hold it for you. So Carla, thank you so much. Both you and your organization do. Thank you for trusting us.
I also want to present this proclamation as well to the Hope Collaborative.
Did you want to say? You already talked.
Yeah.
Did you want to? Somebody want to say something?
On behalf of Family Service Association, who also is very, very proud to lead the Hope Collaborative, we're just grateful for your support, for all of our sponsors, for both supervisors and the county's leadership, for all of the important care you do to take care of and shepherd our children. Just this week, one of my own foster daughters returned to my home, and it can be quite challenging, but it's actually the care of the county and the care of other people along the way that help pave that road, and we just really are grateful. We don't think the county gets enough recognition for all the work they do. Thank you.
Okay, Jeff, are we going to do our actual flag raising?
Would you like the honors?
No.
Well, the flag is now coming up with the assistance of the magicians behind the curtain, Tony and Furman from our facilities management team. We are now actually raising the flag. You can go ahead and clap the whole time while it's going up. Again, thanks to the FM team for getting that raised so quickly. Thank you to certainly all of you who came out today. Thank you to the staff of Supervisor Spiegel, the staff of Supervisor Gutierrez, the teams at our Department of Public and Social Services, the teams at RivCo TV, the Executive Office, the District Attorney, the Sheriff's Department. Thank you all for being here, and thank you all for the work that you're doing and will continue to do moving forward to end child abuse as we know it. On your way out today, please stop by the booth for FSA and Hope Collaborative and pick up some information that you can share. If you already know all of it, grab something to give to somebody else. But with that, our ceremony today is over. Again, thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.